Chapter 34, Moto Nindani, The Fire Within. There was a fire kindling in my mind, a fire that drove me to write books for children. Its name I coined Moto Nindani, The Fire Within. The source of this fire was distinct from my usual rage. When I saw television and newspaper accounts of drive-by shootings with innocent children caught in the crossfire, I felt something that I am unable to articulate to this day. For the first time, I was concerned not just for myself or those murdered children, but also for the welfare of other people's children, my children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews. I found myself incapable of eating after viewing scenarios of children suffering in Africa, afflicted with disease, poverty, genocide, starvation, racism, despair, and death. Decades ago, I had built an emotional rampart against empathy for the hardships of others not close to me. But this new alien feeling of human compassion worried me. Gradually, I began to gain fresh perspective on my unkind and puzzling life. It wasn't by chance I was born black in a world where my color made me a pariah by definition, long before I was able to determine the content of my character. Neither was it by accident that I was a dice-educated, drug-addicted, enraged, bullet-riddled. Tribulations such as my intimacy with the psychosis of this world could have damaged and defeated me, leaving me psychologically scarred, moribund. It was a belated effort on my part, but I was proving that even from the wretched abyss of death row, the impossible was possible. Perhaps merely demonstrating that this awakening was possible was my mission. In the hole, nothing good is expected to happen. You enter the hole without a fighting chance, and when you leave it, months or years later, a part of you remains there forever. The hole extracts something you can never regain. It could be the loss of your mind, blood, time, dignity, conviction, or your life. As it stood, I could not rely upon charm or wit to finagle my circumstances. I had to confront myself with the deepest, most undeniable self-truth. No matter how many thousands of men were unsuccessful before me, I felt I'd somehow excel. I wasn't special, but my fighting spirit would not lie down. Since I no longer indulged in mind-stimulating drugs, there was nothing except death to thwart my intention to elevate myself. As for the previous classification committee's recent rejection, well, I refused to worry about it. Like a man possessed, I pushed forward to achieve what the authorities perceived to be unachievable, transition toward redemption. Armed with the radical evolution of mind, body, and behavior, I was being reshaped by the disciplines of consistent willpower, knowledge, dedication, and spirituality. Serving as an ethical nutrient in my mind, the spirit act of spirituality induced me to give beyond myself. Its cleansing effect introduced me to Ma'ata, an Egyptian or Kemetic term that means truth, justice, and righteousness. And I discovered how to devote faith and praise to the one and only God. In time, I was able to deduce, through comparative study of world religions, that no single person or religious sect has a monopoly on God or spiritual cultivation. I am not a Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, or any other religious indoctrination, category, or doctrine. I have no qualms about being non-denominational. My intention is to connect with God based on my own merits, to obtain spiritual enrichment rather than focus on a particular church or religion. I will never turn away the spiritual knowledge of the Middle Netter, Quran Bible, perennial psychology of the Bhagavad Gita, or any other worthy spiritual scripture. Construct my faith around facts that can best help me to redeem myself. Over the years, I have disciplined myself to fast, meditate, eliminate beef and pork from my diet, and wash up and purge prior to my own composed silent prayers. When I pray, I'm facing east, toward Africa, the holy place where God permitted humanity to originate. While standing, I recite several composed prayers, including the prayer of mercy, and then kneel on a prayer rug, pillow, or blanket. I recite other composed prayers that bestow praises and thanks to the Creator. Throughout each day and evening, I pray 7 times or more, depending upon the spirit that moves me. In the beginning, it was difficult for me to pray on my knees. Still lingering was the macho tripping. If someone approached the cell while I was on my knees praying, I'd jump up and pretend to be doing something else. But once I stood the importance of prayer to my spiritual growth, it didn't matter if the entire prison population marched in a line past my cell during my prayers. I wouldn't budge an inch. If not for the spiritual cultivation that provided me with the principled edge, I would have succumbed to outside distractions. I was able to propel myself forward with the resolve never to give up regardless of the odds or circumstances. I tested my practice of thought in the desolate climate of the whole. As a result, I was able to stand among men from any walk of life and be confident of who I now define myself to be. Prison is no friend of mine. I am now finding an inner peace that has cooled the vapors of suspicion and defensiveness born of years in this unpredictable place. In prison, it's tactical to be a little paranoid. It keeps me spry and on my toes. I also find solace in talking with Brbr about my innocence, my gang past, and about the plight of black people. To protect Brbr, I have always avoided discussing with her the details of my black gang warfare past. It is necessary to keep her safe and uninvolved. The Attorney General's office subpoenaed Brbr once in an unsuccessful attempt to coerce incriminating evidence about me, evidence that did not exist. Brbr has become my intellectual sounding board when I choose to dwell upon the psycho-philosophical analysis of gangs, politics, religion, underprivileged children, and my life. Though I discuss many of the same topics with Evo and Tretch, we had been locked up too long. I needed an outside perspective. Feedback was important to me. I didn't want to be stuck in a time warp or be led astray by my own grand illusions. I was interested in how my book would fare in society, so I wanted bare facts to compare in order to form an analysis. I was determined, despite Brb's warning, that I was exposing myself to the relentless stone throwers. In reality, I had too much Moto Indani in me to be hindered by myopic opinions based on anyone's superficial knowledge of me. I have become a man who will never buckle under controversy. I now use controversy to fuel my motivation. Through experience, I knew the futility of trying to subvert or to outfox these existing conditions. I would have to bend it to the will of my determination to rise above the madness. There have been numerous prisoners who have failed, but that didn't faze me. I knew of a few black men, one in particular, Malcolm X, who underwent a miraculous change from a seemingly permanent criminal to a reborn black man. To me, it didn't matter how prominent the individual. His or her achievements were of earthly means and therefore attainable for me and anyone else with the audacity to step forward. Who am I to even try? Just another black man, grounded, reaching for the stars with soaring thoughts and dreams. I discovered time and again while reading Black history that regardless of a person's background, when one's mind, behavior, circumstances, and spirit are aligned with destiny, the impossible can be achieved. Likewise, for a lowly person such as myself, there was a harmonized order, a dimly glimpsed path I could take to alter my negative existence. The isolation designed to emasculate me and cripple my spirit had failed. I was not the same man they had marched through the entrance to the hole years earlier.